The 2004 United States one dime, often simply referred to as a Roosevelt dime, is a small yet significant coin both in size and in its historical and cultural importance. Though it is only 10 cents in face value, the 2004 dime represents decades of American legacy, economic development, and national symbolism compressed into a tiny metallic disc. Minted as part of the regular circulating coinage by the United States Mint, the 2004 dime continues a long-standing tradition of featuring President Franklin Delano Roosevelt on the obverse, a tribute to his enduring legacy as the 32nd President of the United States and his pivotal role in founding the March of Dimes to combat polio, a disease from which he personally suffered. Designed by whose initials appear at the base of Roosevelt's neck, the Roosevelt dime has been minted with this design since 1946, the year after Roosevelt's death. In 2004, the coin retained its familiar profile image of Roosevelt facing left, with the word liberty inscribed as left, the national motto, "In God We Trust," placed below his chin, and the date 2004 situated near the lower right corner. To the right of the date, one may find a mint mark, indicating the minting facility where the coin was produced, either P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco, which in 2004 struck only proof dimes. The coin's metallic composition reflects a change made in 1965 when the Coinage Act eliminated silver from circulating dimes due to rising bullion prices. The 2004 dime consists of a clad composition, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper, giving the coin its characteristic silver-colored appearance while maintaining cost efficiency and durability. The diameter measures 17.91 millimeters, 0.705 inches. The thickness is 1.35 millimeters, 0.053 inches, and the coin weighs 2.268 grams, 0.080 ounces, with 118 precisely milled reeded edges that serve both aesthetic and anti-counterfeiting purposes. Turning to the reverse, the design features a torch in the center symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left representing peace, and an oak branch on the right representing strength and independence. Above these central symbols arcs the national name, United States of America, and just below appears the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one, a phrase capturing the ideal of American unity and diversity. At the bottom edge, the denomination is spelled out simply as one dime, a term rooted in the Latin word meaning tenth, as the dime is 1/10 of a dollar. The 2004 Roosevelt dime was struck in the hundreds of millions, with over 1.3 billion examples produced between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, making it a common coin in circulation, but still holds a special place in numismatic collections, especially in high-grade condition or with special attributes, such as full torch lines on the reverse, a designation referred to as FB, or full bands among collectors, which signifies a sharply struck coin and commands a premium in the market. The proof version struck at the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, were made using highly polished dies and specially prepared planchets, resulting in mirror-like fields and frosted devices intended primarily for collectors and packaged in annual proof sets. These proof dimes often exhibit superior detail and visual appeal, enhancing their desirability in numismatic circles. By 2004, the Roosevelt dime had been in uninterrupted production for 58 years, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history and a familiar sight in American pockets and purses. Its longevity reflects not only the artistic success of Sinnock's design, but also the symbolic weight Roosevelt continues to carry in the American conscience. As a leader through the Great Depression and World War II, and a personal champion in the fight against polio, which inspired the March of Dimes Foundation, whose success led to the dime bearing his image. Throughout the decades, minor modifications to the coin's die details have been introduced to improve minting quality or to adjust for wear in master hubs, yet the overall look of the coin has remained remarkably consistent. The 2004 edition of the Roosevelt dime also belongs to a broader context of U.S. coinage in the early 21st century, when the U.S. Mint was simultaneously running the successful 50 state quarters program, which began in 1999 and brought renewed public interest to coin collecting. However, the dime was not included in that program, and thus maintained its classic design, serving as a visual and thematic counterbalance to the more dynamic reverses of contemporary quarters. From a socioeconomic perspective, The 2004 dime reflects a period of relatively stable inflation in the U.S., yet by that time, the purchasing power of the dime had significantly declined from earlier decades, making the coin more a part of chain transaction. The 2014 United States one-dime coin, commonly known as a Roosevelt dime, is more than a small piece of pocket change. It is a symbol of American resilience, public health achievements, and a continuation of a coin design lineage stretching back over half a century. Though often overlooked due to its diminutive size and wide circulation, this 10-cent piece represents an enduring tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, whose legacy continues to resonate within American history and currency. The origins of the dime and the Roosevelt legacy. To understand the significance of the 2014 dime, it is essential to appreciate the context of the Roosevelt dime series as a whole. The dime, or 10-cent coin, was first authorized under the Coinage Act of 1792, which laid the foundations for the U.S. Mint and its various denominations. The word dime itself comes from the Latin word decimus, meaning tenth, and the coin has retained its denomination since its inception. Early dime designs featured various allegorical depictions of liberty, such as the drape bust 1796 to 1807, cap bust 1809 to 1837, and seated liberty 1837 to 1891. In 1892, Charles E. Barber's design, known as the Barber dime, took center stage, followed by the famous winged Liberty head or Mercury dime, 1916 to 1945, designed by Adolph. In 1946, following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1945, the Treasury Department decided to honor him with a coin redesign. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, led the country through the Great Depression and most of World War. Perhaps more relevantly to the choice of coin, he was also a pivotal figure in the fight against polio, a disease that had afflicted him personally and left him paralyzed from the waist down. In 1938, Roosevelt helped to establish the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, which later became the March of Dimes, a charity that funded polio research and raised money through small individual contributions. This connection between Roosevelt, the dime, and the fight against polio made the selection of his image of the 10-cent coin both symbolic and culturally appropriate. The design of the Roosevelt dime. The Roosevelt dime, first issued in 1946, features a left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse front. The design was created by John R., the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, had previously worked on a Roosevelt medal and adapted that design for the dime. The obverse bears the inscriptions: Liberty, along the left rim of the coin, In God We Trust, beneath Roosevelt's chin, the date, 2014, to the right of Roosevelt's neck, a mint mark, if applicable, which for 2014 includes P, Philadelphia, D, Denver, or S, San Francisco. Cynic's initials can be found at the base of Roosevelt's neckline. The reverse back design has remained unchanged since its introduction and features a torch flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. These symbols represent liberty, peace, and strength, respectively. The inscriptions include United States of America, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one dime. The combination of these motifs evokes the ideals of Roosevelt's leadership, unity, courage, and peace. 3. The 2014 issue, Varieties and Minting Details. In 2014, the Roosevelt dime was minted in 3 primary facilities: Philadelphia Mint, P, Denver Mint, D, San Francisco Mint, S. Here are the mintages. Philadelphia, P, approximately 1.475 billion dimes were struck. Denver, D, approximately 1.554 billion dimes. San Francisco, S, issued as proof coins, about 1.18 million were minted. The San Francisco proof coins were struck for collector sets and featured mirror-like surfaces and frosted devices using special dyes and polishing processes. The coins struck in Philadelphia and Denver were intended for general circulation and are made of the standard modern dime composition, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This clad composition has been used since 1965, following the removal of silver from circulating dimes due to rising metal costs and hoarding. The 2014 Roosevelt dime has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, a thickness of 1.35 millimeters, and a total weight of 2.268 grams. The coin features a reeded edge, a security measure to deter clipping, a practice more relevant in the days of precious metal coinage. And numismatic value. From a numismatic standpoint, the 2014 Roosevelt dime is considered a modern common issue, and circulated specimens typically hold face value 10 cents. However, collectors often seek coins in pristine, uncirculated condition or special proof editions. The 2014 S-Proof Roosevelt dime from San Francisco is a popular collector's item, especially in deep cameo condition, with a contrast between the frosted relief and mirror-like background is strong. These proof coins were included in various U.S. mint sets. The 2020 United States 1 dime, bearing a face value of 10 cents, is part of a long-standing tradition of American coinage that traces its roots back to the Coinage Act of 1792. As the smallest denomination in U.S. coinage by both value and physical size, the dime occupies a unique place in American economic history, with its role evolving alongside the growth of the American economy. The 2020 edition of the dime continues a design tradition that began in 1946 with the introduction of the Roosevelt dime, created in honor of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt following his death in 1945. The design was chosen not only to commemorate the late president's legacy, but also to highlight his founding role in the March of Dimes, a campaign originally established to combat polio, a disease Roosevelt personally struggled with throughout much of his adult life. The design was executed by John R. Cynic, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time, and has remained virtually unchanged on the obverse ever since its debut. The obverse front of the 2020 dime features a left-facing portrait of President Roosevelt, etched with dignified realism. Above Roosevelt's head appears the word liberty, while to the left of his neck, the motto "In God We Trust" is inscribed. The date, 2020, appears below the neckline, and immediately to the right of the date is the mint mark, which denotes the facility where the coin was produced, a P for Philadelphia, a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. Beneath Roosevelt's neckline is a small inscription JS, the initials of John Cynic. The presence of these initials has historically been the subject of controversy. In the early years of the coin's release, some conspiracy theories circulated that JS stood for Joseph Stalin, although these claims were quickly debunked by the U.S. Mint and historians.